So if this game is any indication on the direction VR is heading, I am very excited for the future. Let's talk about this. The gameplay featured here is brought to you by PureVPN. Keep your information online safe and secure with military-grade encryption and blazing speeds. PureVPN's already been rated one of the best VPN services of 2019. Use the link in the description. You can get your service for as low as $2.88 a month. That is 74% off what it regularly costs. But now, on to the video. Hey everybody, what is going on? Brandon here with another VR video today, and this with the game Swords of Gargantua. Now, this game is in open beta. I just saw it on the Oculus store this morning. It looked interesting. I downloaded it. I jumped in. I played through the single player for a little while. Then I jumped into a multiplayer match and played that for a little bit. And man, this game has a lot going for it and could mean a lot for the future of VR. Now, when I first saw this game, I thought, okay, it's just going to end up being another generic sword fighting game for VR. Obviously, everybody wants to sword fight in VR. That's one of the biggest things that will draw people to VR, a game type that will draw people into VR, is being able to fight with swords. Unfortunately, a lot of the sword fighting games in VR aren't really done that well. There are two games in particular that have done it really well. One being Beat Saber, and that's because they're lightsabers. You're supposed to be able to slice through whatever it is you're going to be hitting with it, so that way it feels fluid, and that makes you, it feels normal in Beat Saber when you're slicing through the blocks with a lightsaber, because it cuts through them, and a lightsaber is supposed to cut through things, so there's no impact resistance whatsoever, and it works. The other good example is Gorn. Now, Gorn is a really fun game, and actually reminds me a lot of this, or this reminds me a lot of Gorn, I should say, to an extent. But the way Gorn handles its physics when it comes to sword combat is whatever point hits the enemy, the handle or whatever else will bend. So there's no impact resistance, and it feels natural when you're hitting the enemy that the swords would just bend, everything would bend around. It's kind of cartoony, and you don't have to worry about it feeling awkward because there's no impact resistance. Other sword fighting games just don't do a very good job of conveying sword combat. They don't. When you make contact with the sword and your sword stops, but you're continuing to move with your controller, it feels unnatural and doesn't really work very well. Now, the sword combat in this game is actually done really well, because you still get that impact resistance. You still get haptic feedback whenever you actually hit the enemy. You feel it in the controller, but it doesn't just leave your arm 4 foot above your head if you're fighting a giant monster while your hand's actually down by your waist in real life. It doesn't give you that awkward feeling where the sensors need to then find your hands and try to readjust, making combat kind of awkward and weird. This game does combat really well, and it's actually really fluid. Now, this game is free. It's in open beta right now on the Oculus store. There's not a whole lot to it right now, though. That is the biggest downside, I will say. It's basically a tech demo. There is a single-player mode or a solo mode you can go through and play, unlock different weapons, and basically learn the ropes of the game and learn how to defeat all the different enemy types. And then there's multiplayer mode, where you can actually go in, jump in with a bunch of people, and fight these giant dungeons, basically, or small dungeons, not really giant. They are short. There's only one map right now in multiplayer, but I have a good feeling they're going to end up adding more mobs, better AI, a bigger map, or different maps at least, and that has a lot of potential for this game in the future. Now, you can't play this game and tell me whoever developed it isn't a fan of Sword Art Online. The aesthetic, the way it looks, the way it feels, the way it plays, even the font they use in the menus, and everything. It all feels like almost like a Sword Art Online dungeon, which makes me think, God, if they added some MMORPG elements to this, with dungeons like this being levels that you have to go into and raid, oh my God, this game could be probably one of the best games in VR of all time, if not the best game in VR. There's a revive mechanic if your teammate's down, where you can try to get them up. Now, I've never had to use this in multiplayer. Nobody ever got down when I played multiplayer, at least not permanently, or to the point where they needed revived. But I did have to revive AI teammates in the single player mode. And it's an interesting mechanic, and it adds a lot to the gameplay when your team members get downed. Like I said, right now there's only the one map for multiplayer, so I'm hoping they add more, because if this game doesn't get more, it's going to probably not do very well. But if it does get more maps and stays free to play, this game could do really well. Even with microtransactions, I think most of us would be okay, especially if it was all cosmetic. Aesthetically, it looks really good. It looks really pleasing. The mobs all have their own characteristics and their own style and the way they look and their own attack patterns, and that's awesome. I don't like games that just reskin the same old mobs over and over and over again and send them back in with small differences. It seems to be every mob has its own style of fighting against you, and it works really well for multiplayer, especially when you get a large group of people together. All in all, I'd say I'm very excited about the future of this game, especially if they keep developing it and keep going the direction they're going with it. It plays really well. It's fun. I had no problems jumping into a quick match with random people, and we all had a laugh playing in just the waiting lobby for a good chunk of time. And it's a great game. It has a lot that it could live up to, and it could become probably, like I said, the best game in VR, or at least one of the best games. Because to be fair, it's already more optimized than other sword fighting games in VR that I've played. One game I've been playing for a while, Blade and Sorcery, I've been wanting to do a video on it, but I'm really hoping they optimize it a little bit more before I cover it, because it's just not very well optimized. This game, I didn't really have any problems. I can record this game at 60 frames per second using Shadow Play, playing through it, and really didn't get any performance hitches whatsoever, and that's on not even my big build, that's just on my living room PC. So it's really well optimized and plays really well, so I really hope and pray that these developers keep going the route they're going and give us more content for this game, because even if it's not free-to-play, I'm going to end up buying it. I think free-to-play with microtransactions as far as cosmetics would be the way to go. But if not, and they want to make it a $30, $40 game to buy, and they give us more content, I'm going to shell out that money for it, because it's fun. I have not had a bad time playing this game whatsoever. I've not had any crashes with the game. I've not had any failures to run with the game. I didn't have any movement hitches, which caused me to refund games like Space Junkies that make the game basically unplayable. I had no issues with it, and this is a free beta. So definitely, if you have an Oculus Rift, check this game out. It is totally worth it. It's only about, I think, 2 gigs. It's not a big download at all. Make yourself a cup of coffee while you're waiting on it to download, because you're going to want that energy boost anyway. So that's all the time I got for this one, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like this video and you want to see more, please do me a favor and hit that red subscribe button. If you want to know anytime Nathan and I upload videos, please do us a favor and ring that bell icon. Thank you, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions about this game, leave me a comment down below. What are you most excited about in VR? But thanks, guys, and I will see you all next time.